And this is a fantasy dungeon crawler that appears medieval but actually takes place in the distant future. This game takes place over a series of narrative quests that are going to outline how the players will be setting up the board, any special rules, as well as the objectives that they're trying to complete. Players will be able to upgrade their adventurers' abilities and equipment on their own personal player boards, and each quest will have players venturing out from the safety of their camp, trying to complete those various objectives, but then also getting back to their camp in one piece. And this is easier said than done because there is a dread track that's going to be continually increasing the longer that you stay out on the main board in this beautiful 3D terrain. Each round, players are going to be drawing a random event card that can have all sorts of game-changing effects. Then players will be taking their actions with their various adventures. The different characters can have different stats, and normally they have 2 actions per turn, and players will be doing things like moving about the board, searching different areas of the board like loot chests or different rooms. And these chests do make full use of the 3D terrain because you're actually going to be able to find your items within the chests that you're searching. But if you're searching a room, you're just going to be drawing an item from a draw bag. But the really interesting thing here is that new items will get added to that draw bag throughout the campaign, depending on the actions that the players perform. So this will add more and more rarer and stronger items into that bag that players will be able to hope to draw in a future turn. Players can also choose to rest, cast spells, or attack creatures that are within their range. And players will be rolling various dice for most of these actions, trying to pass a skill test in order to determine the success of those actions. But of course, players will also be able to use certain spells and items in order to manipulate the outcome of their dice. But the monsters don't just stand idly by, and depending on the actions that you perform, the monsters will fight back, and you could even have more monsters spawning depending on the areas that you move into as you're performing your turn, because certain areas are more likely to spawn enemies than others, and whenever you come into contact with that space, you're going to be rolling a die to determine if something spawns there. And I hope you like challenging games because things won't get any easier, because in addition to all of that, the monsters also get their own turn as well, where they're going to be rolling dice to determine new spawns out on the board. Then they're going to be moving towards the nearest enemy, prioritizing those that are in line of sight. And of course, they're also going to be attacking anyone that they're able to, triggering more and more fights. And if the players are able to survive those fights, while also completing the objectives that they're trying to complete, before things get too crazy and difficult, then the players win the game. But as I said, as that dread track goes up, the game gets harder and harder, making all the different monsters even stronger, so you really want to time yourself with this. And if that's something that's interesting to you, I have links in the description below.